What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's Michael here with a brand new Fallout 4 build, which is extremely fun to play. As the title says, this build is the Sharpshooter, and as one would assume, he's really good at shooting people in the head from far away. He's going to be using heaps of VATs and plenty of amazing perks from the luck tree to use critical hits ridiculously often. We've created to build to be the best at what a traditional sniper does, and that is staying hidden while landing long-range shots with high damage from a sniper rifle. Our Sharpshooter won't be using any lockpicking or hacking because we've focused on making this a very high damage offensive build as opposed to a more utility based build which we've got coming next week. However, if you want to use hacking or lockpicking or both, you most certainly can while still being a great sniper. Power armor also isn't a main part of this build as we want to be as discreet and hidden as possible, so we'll leave any power armor customization up to you. Playing the Sharpshooter is very fun, and if you've just been through a melee playthrough with something like our Raider build, it's going to be a completely new experience. If you haven't played a sniper before, definitely try this out. It's very satisfying and you feel like a deadly killer. Also, Scott and I have put timestamp links to the different sections of this video in the description, and we do this for all our Fallout 4 builds. Basically, this allows you to go back to a certain spot after you've watched the video or skip through a part if you have to. For those who enjoy a solid backstory, it's time to meet the Sharpshooter. The Sharpshooter was raised in his hometown of Boston by a single mother and was never able to meet his father. Despite this and despite his mother's drug addiction, the Sharpshooter was cared for greatly and always felt loved and appreciated. The Sharpshooter's mother was quite old compared to others who had children his age, and her younger brother, the Sharpshooter's uncle, ended up being the father figure in the Sharpshooter's life. He would visit his sister and the Sharpshooter often, and the Sharpshooter would travel with him frequently. They developed a close bond over time, and this was usually spent in the wilderness practicing how to live off the land, and as he entered his teenage years, how to hunt. The uncle was quite a talented shooter and taught the Sharpshooter how to use scoped rifles. He heavily emphasized lessons of responsibility and safety in his teachings, and he taught the Sharpshooter not only how to be more accurate with the weapons, but also how to tread quietly and avoid being detected by prey. The Sharpshooter was a natural at hitting his targets, and the only problem he had was hitting multiple practice targets in a row. Basically, recoil really threw him off, but even this issue was fixed over just a few weeks. This all happened during weekends or holidays when the Sharpshooter was not attending school. He did go to school when he had to, and he finished high school with quite solid marks. Things were going pretty well for the Sharpshooter, and he also met a girl shortly after who he fell in love with and soon married. This girl was the love of his life, and the Sharpshooter felt very fulfilled and grateful for his current situation. However, the Sharpshooter knew he would have to earn money to contribute to his new life, and he decided to join the police force. He had always contemplated joining the police as a child, and with his life going so well, he decided he would help protect others so that their lives could be good too. He was a very fearless person and didn't consider the possibility of himself dying. After seeing the good and the bad of the police force and observing the career paths he could take, the Sharpshooter spent years working his way up the rank to end up as a sniper on a SWAT team. His job was usually to observe an area from a distance and take out any dangerous targets necessary. He was especially useful in hostage situations. After 2 years in this job, the Sharpshooter's happy life took a sudden turn when his love ended up dead. He received news at work that his wife was in a fatal car crash, and dealing with this over the next year took a massive toll on the Sharpshooter's mindset. He became incredibly depressed and quite careless too. Shortly after this, his mother died of drug abuse, and the Sharpshooter decided to enlist in the military. He longed for a new lifestyle and something to help him deal with his depression and frustration. Working with the military, the Sharpshooter was quickly promoted due to his experience in the police force and his expert talent with long-range shooting. The Sharpshooter's skill set was plain and simple. He was a combat sniper, not an agent, not a high-tech hitman, just a master of hide, aim, and fire. Eventually, after his term with the army finished, he went back to his hometown for a break, and it was then he met a new lady. They got to know each other fairly well on his break, and it was very clear she was interested. The Sharpshooter told her about his past lover, but the lady was still comforting and open. The Sharpshooter decided against re-enlisting in the military for the time being and spent some time with his new female interest. Eventually, he decided it was time to move on and begin anew, and falling in love for the second time, he was married, had a child, and settled down. His life was slowly building itself back together until the sirens sounded and the bombs began to fall. He was rushed into Vault 111 with his family, and we all know what happens next. Now, before we discuss the motives, perspective, and faction choices of the Sharpshooter, I will of course issue a spoiler warning. Fallout 4 builds on FudgeMuppet are going to keep faction and big quest storylines very vague, but we will be telling you the factions the Sharpshooter will be working with, and also the main goal of one of them. If you aren't aware of all the joinable factions in Fallout 4 and you don't want to be, then skip through the faction choices section using the timestamps in the description. With that said, let's get into it. Entering post-apocalyptic Boston, the Sharpshooter is going to be absolutely numb. He's just lost everything he held dear for the second time. He will have to fight adversity in a state of mental anguish to find the last remains of what matters to him, his son. During this journey, he will find a new cause worth fighting for. He's always been a very kind-hearted person, and he wants to stop bad things from happening to others. He's experienced an all too unfair share of hardship in his life. And as he's done in his prior careers, he will aim to protect others and rid the world of evil. The Sharpshooter will have a positive stance towards the Minutemen and will help them when he can to improve the lives of settlers in the wasteland. That said, the Sharpshooter will ultimately side with the Railroad as he knows they want to take out the Institute and save synths in the process. The Sharpshooter believes that synths should be given freedom as they have free will, and he sympathizes with them because they have a lack of control over their lives. This is a lack of control the Sharpshooter has become accustomed to. The one thing the Sharpshooter knows he can control with utmost certainty is the path of his bullets. He will use his masterful control of a sniper rifle to grant freedom to those who have been oppressed, and also bring prosperity and safety to those who are just struggling to get by. The Sharpshooter will be fairly neutral to the Brotherhood of Steel to begin with, and will not commit himself to their cause simply based on instinct. He has a bad gut feeling regarding their intentions, and he decides to trust his intuition and steer clear of them for as long as possible. Looking at the start game special stats, the Sharpshooter begins with 1 strength, 9 perception, 2 endurance, 1 charisma, 4 intelligence, 7 agility, and 4 luck. His low strength and endurance represents the fact that he's always been quite a frail individual, but of course his main advantage physically is his agility. This represents his acrobatic, coordinated, and reactive nature, and it's going to help you with the massive amount of VATS the Sharpshooter uses to assess an area and target the individuals in it. 1 charisma reflects the distant attitude of this build. The Sharpshooter prefers to keep to himself and will be very selective regarding who he forms bonds with. 4 intelligence of course represents the fact that the Sharpshooter is educated and cunning. This will help us level up at an acceptable rate, keeping in mind we'll also be getting the intelligence bobblehead to make our intelligence 5. The Sharpshooter has 4 luck, and while it may seem like someone who has lost those he loved is very unlucky, the luck refers to the Sharpshooter individually and not the ones around him. The Sharpshooter is never spotted, he's lived through life working as a general policeman, as a member of a SWAT team, and also as a sniper in the military, and he hasn't been compromised once. The luck stat of course is going to let us get some of the most amazing perks in Fallout 4, so we can use VAT and stream critical hits all the time. When you get the special book in Sanctuary, you're going to be using it on luck, and remember you're going to want to get all the special bobbleheads as soon as you can. As always, we've got links in the description to our guides on how to get these bobbleheads, the special book, and any other related videos you may find useful for this build. Now it's time to get into the makeup of this sniper build. We're going to go over every single perk point we're allocating all the way up to level 50, and we're explaining perks up to this level with all our Fallout 4 builds. You can add whatever you want beyond this. So straight off the bat, this character is getting the Rifleman perk, which as we know increases our damage with non-automatic rifles by 20% at rank 1. Then we're getting a very essential perk the Sharpshooter uses, and that is the Sneak perk. This will make us 20% harder to detect when sneaking. We're then getting the Night Person perk, which at the first rank will give us +2 intelligence and perception during the hours between 6 PM and 6 AM. If we turn in quests at night, we can improve the leveling speed of the Sharpshooter, and the perception bonus is also great as our accuracy and VATS will be increased at night. Combine this with the other perception perks later on and we become like a nocturnal eagle with a telescope. Next up, we're getting the first rank of Gun Nut to modify some more efficient sniper rifles, and then we're getting the awesome Ninja perk. This will allow us to deal 2.5 times more normal damage with our ranged sneak attacks, which are basically all our attacks, and it also makes melee attacks do 4 times as much damage if you wanted to carry a dagger. The Sharpshooter build is then getting the Sniper perk, and this gives us more control with our snipers as we'll be able to hold our breath longer when looking through scopes. The next rank is going to let us knock down enemies when we get it, and the final rank gives us a massive 25% more accuracy for headshots in VATS. Moving on from Sniper, we're getting the Concentrated Fire perk, and you're definitely going to want to have the Perception Bobblehead by now, but you should have picked it up ages ago, really. The first rank of this allows you to get plus 10% accuracy in VATS with every attack you aim at the same body part of a target. At level 9, we're getting the second rank of Rifleman to do 40% more damage with non-automatic rifles, and at this rank you actually ignore 15% of your target's armor. You can even roleplay that you're using armor-piercing rounds now, seeing as you couldn't buy any in this game. We're then getting the second rank of Sneak to be 30% harder to detect, and now we won't trigger floor-based traps, although this doesn't include mines yet. Next up, we're getting a neat little perk called Penetrator, and at rank 1, this allows the Sharpshooter to use VATS to shoot targets who are blocked by cover, although you will experience a decrease in accuracy. Next, we're getting the third rank of Sneak to be 40% harder to detect and no longer trigger enemy mines. We're then going with the second rank of Gun Nut, and now we will be able to make our sniper rifles better than ever before, and now you can also put a suppressor on your pipe rifle to make it silenced. Mr. Sandman now becomes a great perk choice for the Sharpshooter, as our silenced weapons will now do 15% additional sneak damage and will be able to instantly kill sleeping targets using a unique throat-slitting animation. Next up, we're getting the second rank of Sniper to get that awesome knockdown effect, which occurs randomly, and from our gameplay you'll be able to tell it happens often enough to be effective, and of course it's very satisfying. We're then getting Ninja rank 2 to make our sneak attacks deal 3 times as much normal damage, and now any melee sneak attacks will do 5 times as much normal damage. Now we're going to be an even deadlier marksman, getting the second rank of Mr. Sandman to make our silenced weapons deal an additional 30% sneak damage. We're then getting Rifleman 3, so we'll be doing 60% more damage with our weapons of choice, and now we ignore 20% of target armor. At level 19, the Sharpshooter is going to get a little bit explosive and actually get the Demolitions Expert perk. This will allow us to craft explosives at any chemistry station, and our explosive damage will be increased by 25%. This is going to allow the Sharpshooter to craft some bottle cap mines, and he can actually spread them around areas without being detected so that he can shoot one enemy in plain sight, causing the others to go crazy, run around, and blow up as they step on mines. This is more fun than anything else. It's most efficient to plant them nearby your sniping area so that enemies who try to find you blow up on the way. Of course, don't use mines at all when you want to be extremely covert. Next up, you'll invest a perk point in luck, and keep in mind we used a special book to increase luck as well. Now we're going to get the first rank of Better Criticals, and then at the next level we're getting Better Criticals rank 2. With 2 ranks of this, our critical hits are going to cause twice as much extra damage, which is absolutely beast. Then at level 23, we're getting Sneak rank 4 to be 50% harder to detect and make running no longer negatively affect stealth. We're then getting another point of luck, and then we're getting the very useful second rank of Night Person. This allows us to have +3 intelligence and perception at night, which helps for even quicker leveling at night and more accuracy in VATS. And this rank also gives us night vision when we're in sneak mode, so now you'll never need to use a night vision scope again. We're then getting the third rank of Gun Nut to further customize our sniper rifles, and now we can suppress our hunting rifle. We're then getting the third and final rank of Sniper, and now our non-automatic scoped rifles will gain 25% accuracy for headshots in VATS. This is of course a fantastic investment for this build. Now we're getting a very powerful perk called Critical Banker, and we're going to be getting the second rank straight after. This perk allows you to save a critical hit to be used in VATS, and with the second rank, we'll be able to store 2 critical hits. This is on top of the critical meter, meaning that you can now use 3 critical hits in a row. We're then getting the final rank of Mr. Sandman for a huge 50% additional sneak attack damage with silenced weapons. By now, the Sharpshooter build is extremely stealthy and has the ability to unleash multiple life-ending blasts over a long distance. These are of course blasts the enemy won't even hear. At level 31, we're getting Rifleman 4 to deal 80% more damage with our non-automatic rifles, and we'll also be ignoring 25% of our target's armor. On top of this, the 4th rank of Rifleman also gives us a slight chance of crippling enemy limbs with our bullets. We're then getting the 2nd rank of Concentrated Fire to make every attack on the same body part in VATS gain 15% additional accuracy. We're then spending another perk point on Luck, and following this we're picking up 2 ranks of Grim Reaper's Sprint. With 2 ranks of this sensational perk, any kill you cause in VATS has a 25% chance to restore all your action points. This can lead to some awesome scenarios where you use VATS to end up killing 10 enemies with a sniper rifle in a really short amount of time. You're going to want to get the Luck Bobblehead if you haven't got it by now, because over the next 2 levels we're getting 2 ranks of the 4-leaf clover perk. This perk is another one of the amazing luck perks which all seem to be pretty good. With the 1st rank of this, each hit you connect in VATS has a chance of filling your critical meter, and with the 2nd rank this chance gets even better. Next, we're getting the 5th and final rank of Sneak, and this makes distant enemies lose track of you when you enter Sneak mode. This is great if you are ever discovered and need to hide and reassess the battlefield. We're then getting the 4th rank of Gun Nut to make our snipers as beast as possible, and now we can suppress anything. We're then getting the 2nd rank of Penetrator to give us no accuracy penalty when targeting enemies who are blocked by cover. At level 41, the Sharpshooter will get the final rank of Ninja, and this is going to make our sneak attacks do 3.5 times as much normal damage, and if you happen to carry around a melee weapon, it will be 10 times as much normal damage. Even with low strength and no melee perk investment, any melee attack while sneaking will become very powerful. Remember, this character is very much a sniper specialist who will be taking advantage of the 3.5 times as much normal damage, but you can decide to use some melee stealth kills if you think it's appropriate. Next up, we're getting Better Criticals rank 3 to make our critical shots do 2.5 times as much damage, and then on top of this, we're getting the 3rd rank of Critical Banker, so now we can store another critical hit. Also, when we do save these critical hits, we now have a chance to randomly save an additional one. Following on this streak of awesome luck perks, we're getting the 3rd rank of 4-leaf clover to give us a very good chance of filling our critical meter with each hit we get in VATS. Next up, the Sharpshooter's feeling even more explosive and gets the 2nd rank of Demolitions Expert. This will make your explosives like your mines do 50% more damage, and your grenades will gain a throwing arc. Now, if you want grenades, we recommend finding some cryo grenades to use if you need to, because they will be able to immobilize your enemies so you can escape or line up shots to take them out. At level 46, we're getting the final Rifleman perk, and this is going to make us deal double damage with our non-automatic rifles. We'll also be ignoring a huge 30% of our target's armor, and we'll have an even higher chance of crippling their limbs. We're then getting the 3rd rank of Demolitions Expert to make this build deal 75% more damage with explosives, and these explosives will affect a larger area. This means you can immobilize even more enemies with cryo grenades if you're discovered, and an enemy that steps on one of your crafted mines is ensured a quick and spectacular death. We're then getting the 4th rank of 4-leaf clover, giving us an excellent chance of filling our critical meter when we connect hits in VATS. We then get the last rank of Demolitions Expert to cause double damage with explosives, and we can shoot mines and grenades in VATS for double damage. This is really cool for a sniper character because we can target enemy grenades just as they throw them, shoot them in the air with our sniping prowess, and cause multiple enemies to die in one perfectly timed explosion. At level 50, we finally can get the 3rd rank of Concentrated Fire. This means that every attack we select in VATS on the same body part gains 20% accuracy and does 20% more damage. This ensures the death of almost any foe who dares to enter your sights. The endgame special stats for the Sharpshooter after getting the bobbleheads, but not including what he's wearing, are as follows. 2 strength, 10 perception, 3 endurance, 2 charisma, 5 intelligence, 8 agility, and 9 luck. So now you know how to create this awesome build, but what does he wear? Well, usually on FudgeMuppet, we will explain early game, mid game, and end game gear in a lot of detail and have different options for various stages in the game. With the Sharpshooter, however, things are a bit simpler. At the start of the game, you'll be using whatever scoped rifles you can find or make. You can get a pipe rifle and turn it into a sniper fairly quick, so we suggest doing this and keeping this gun in your inventory. You can also carry a shotgun as a last resort weapon for times when your cover is blown. You'll also want to pick up as many mines as you can to plant around areas where you're hiding or where enemies are gathered in large numbers. By playing the main storyline and doing the whole shindig with Nick Valentine, you'll get the faded trench coat, and this is going to be what you wear for the entire game. This gives you 2 extra points of perception, which will help further increase your accuracy in VATS. We're then getting a pair of sunglasses with this, and these can be found all over the wasteland. This will increase your perception by an additional point, making you even more accurate, and if you'd like even more perception, you can wear a perception-based hat of your choice. We think the baseball cap and the military cap look decent for this build, but it's of course just our preference. Perhaps you want a sleeker looking aesthetic with smooth armor pieces, but we thought this aesthetic looked really unique to this build's story. The trench coat really suits a character who used to work for the police, and the sunglasses fit in with this too. We wanted our sharpshooter to have a lot of character and look like a father on a mission instead of a random killer for hire. Fairly early game, you should be able to find a short hunting rifle, which you can eventually upgrade into an awesome 50 cal sniper. You'll want to hang on to this for your mid-game character too and keep upgrading it. Remember to get suppressors on your snipers as soon as possible to make them silent. In terms of mid to end game, you should be able to easily find a combat rifle and upgrade this into a sniper rifle too. This is a great sniper, and you'll want to give all your snipers, including this one, all the best upgrades for staying quiet, having low recoil, high damage, and being deadly accurate over long distances. You can actually make this combat sniper rifle use 308 rounds for more damage. Keeping your hunting sniper rifle is a good idea endgame because it will give you 2 separate snipers that have different ammo types. If you're ever running low on 50 caliber, you can switch to your trusty 308 sniper rifle and vice versa. Also, another cool aesthetic for this build is using armored clothing you can buy from the railroad. We like clothing because we want to be as light as possible and not draw attention to ourselves in the wasteland. You could also carry an upgraded assault rifle as a kind of secondary marksman rifle, but to be honest, we find this build to be very sufficient only carrying the 2 sniper rifles. So at the end of the game, the sharpshooter is actually going to have 17 perception at night and 14 during the day. You'll have 14 because your perception is 10 and you get 4 from your gear, and you'll have 17 at night because of night person adding 3 more. This is going to make you even more accurate in VATS with your sniper, and while this character is not overly fond of drugs, you could use mentats on occasion to add an additional 2 points to perception and intelligence. Looking at companions, we found the best ones for the sharpshooter to be Deacon and McCready. These characters are more stealth oriented and give you awesome perks once you reach max affinity. Deacon is going to give you the cloak and dagger perk, and this gives you 20% more default sneak attack damage. With Ninja and Mr. Sandman, this provides some serious force. This perk also increases the duration of Stealth Boys by 40%, and Stealth Boys are another thing you can use in your playstyle. After maxing affinity with McCready, you're going to get the kill shot perk, and this gives you a 20% greater chance to hit an enemy's head in VATS. Awesome for any sniper build. There's also a funny glitch on PS4 that I personally haven't experienced, but many people have said there's a bug where the kill shot perk permanently increases headshot chance to 95% from any distance with any firearm. Basically, if you had a small pistol, you'd be able to kill people from hundreds of meters away. Nick Valentine also makes a great companion for the sharpshooter as he is a synth and has a similar career background to the build. With our sniper character, we actually stopped traveling with companions after maxing their affinity and unlocking their perk. We recommend this because the sharpshooter ultimately prefers to be alone and not have to trust others to stay hidden. You can of course choose to keep your companions with you, and as we always say, you can use other companions if you think they fit in well with this build. Any romance is up to you. Looking at settlements for the sharpshooter, we recommend building in places that have a good view for a sniper and are quite secluded. While you do want good defenses, you're going to want to hide them tactically. You want your settlements to be as discreet as possible so they don't attract attention, but if they are attacked, then you want defenses to still be there. This means don't build any over-the-top mega structures, unless you can rationalize it. Perhaps you might enjoy making a super tall sniper post. And that wraps up this week's Fallout 4 build, the Sharpshooter. If you want more Fallout 4 builds like this, then subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out. Please share this video if you think it's worthy of a share, and leave a like if you love sniping raiders in the head. Our social media links are in the description if you want to ask us some questions, or if you just want to get a more personal look into FudgeMuppet. My name is Michael, this was the Sharpshooter, subscribe and I'll see you next time.